Hi, my name is Fred Hamer. I'm the conservation architect leading the project at St Michael and All Angels Church in Brampton Abbots. The building is Grade 2 star listed, originally built in the 12th century, making it Norman in origin. Since July 2018, we started works on site. As you can see behind me, the church is undergoing some major structural repairs. So when assessing a project like this, we have to take in the whole history of the building, not only to give an honest repair, but also how that building has changed and adapted over time. The building is a palimpsest of different time periods. Over and over again, the building has been regenerated, reconverted, added to and extended. Back in the mid-19th century, the building had a big vestry extension, and during the excavation works, we uncovered the archaeological remains of that previous building. The works then progressed onto the masonry repairs, and we actually found out previous mistakes from the previous architects back in 1850, where the window stone jambs were bedded incorrectly. So we've taken that out as it was starting to decay, and we've rebedded new stone back with its original mouldings back into position. One of the first considerations we had with this project was to put the roof back into working order. Following 10 years of closure, the building was suffering a lot of water ingress, which has degraded the roof timbers even more. As a combination of death watch beetle attack, the roof trusses were in a sorry state, and we've had to carry out some considerable structural repairs to the roof.
Darren Price, site agent for Splitnath Building Conservation, and in charge of the building works on this job, which extend from the roofing works to repointing and internal works, electrics and some heating within the church itself, and also works to the tower behind, which are shingle replacements, work to the lantern to the top of the tower, and also some replacement of tiles and stuff like that. When we take the building apart, some things that they don't find initially upon looking at the building, sometimes we uncover them and we document the different things within the structure that are not visible with the naked eye, so we can actually take a record of that and document it and pass it on to the client, which adds to their package to what's happened to the church and future and previous work that they can carry on.
So here we're inside the top section of the nave, and as the uncovering works continue, we need to adjust our scope accordingly. For example, this is one of the worst effective trusses because of the weight of the stonework above. It started to buckle, and you see the tenon is exposed out of the brace. So as part of the further uncovering works, we will repair this structurally, reinstate the roof structure, and then the internal scaffolding will come down. We've also found out that as the roof structure has spread over time, the loading of the roof has come down on the ashlar post now instead of the rafters. So as part of that works, we're going to keep that loading profile to make sure that the trusses don't move in independently. We're going to replace most of the decayed sections of the exterior and interior wall plates, and also reinstate the ashlar posts to make sure that they are up to the test of supporting the roof structure.
When we stripped off the roofs on the church, we found that this roof here was probably as you would see it. There wasn't a lot of detail underneath it that you couldn't see from down below. But on the vestry, what we found was the lath and plaster ceiling that is actually up above the vaulted ceiling that was put in at a later date. So these sorts of things, unless you take the roof off and strip them back, you wouldn't actually see these things. So we document that, keep a record, and whatever's underneath there might affect our way of working and doing the roof from what was on the original drawings. So we have adjustments all the way through the project. It doesn't always marry up to what's on the drawing, but we liaise with the architect and then we come up with a solution to what is potentially a variation on the original contract.
Okay, so with a building such as this age, it goes over successive periods of regeneration and renewal. So here we've got the original roof structure, which is to the same age as the building. But during the 1793, the bell frame was added to, which has this principal post behind this one here. And there's a date inscribed on the beam, which was only uncovered during the excavation works. And then later, W.D. Carrow put in and reformed the structure to the bow frame, which is this column here, which replaced a former tie structure. So there was a structure along here of some sort, of some description, during the Norman period.
When we look at these jobs, we start them. We've got to keep in mind the source and materials that will potentially match what's on the roof. What you're going to be down, what's damaged, what's mucked in on the sides, the actual mortar holding the tiles in, that they bed them in. You can't retrieve the tile in halves of the clay tiles that you've got, so we've got to look for a match to match them that everybody's happy with, and then they're not going to stand out like a sore thumb. It's as close as you can get to a match as possible. So you tend to want to put back on the same, providing that they're in good condition and reusable, the same materials you take off, we salvage and put them to one side, and whatever we bring in new has got to match to what we've taken off as close as.
My name's John Dimblow. I'm the Managing Director of Split Lath Building Conservation, and we're just talking about the roof coverings, because on this church, most of the church roof is covered in these stone tiles, which would have been quarried locally. They've pretty much had their life. They've already been refixed on the roof once, so they start to deteriorate over a period of time. So we've stripped those off. It's a funny thing with the process of laying these tiles. Most of the work is actually or most of the time spent is getting them to ground, and then they have to be graded because some of them will be too poor to put back on. We then have to count them, measure them, and then work out how many courses we can do with each specific size, because there are multiple different sizes which diminish as they go up the roof. So we have to make sure that we have enough for each elevation before we start, because to run out part of the way up an elevation, we can't get any more of these, not reclaimed ones. You can get new. There are a reasonable amount of quarries that have reopened and are producing these, but all the work is in the thinking and the recording. Actually putting them back on is a smaller element of the work. And this stone is typical for this part of Herefordshire. It's a Ross sandstone. It's quite gritty, you know, and a lot of it's starting to return to sand again. It more than likely would have been quite local. They didn't come from quarries as such. We called them delves. They were just shallow holes in the ground, because to get a stone that thin, it's from near the surface. The deeper you go generally in the ground, the larger the fissures or laminations, and so you get stone tiles from the first few feet, then you get things that are useful for seams that are useful for flagstones, and then the deeper it goes, then you're into building stone and etc. until it needs blasting out. But these generally come from shallow little delves, and again, I'll pick this one up because it's to hand. This one's had its life. It's laminated, as you can see through. This is not a tile that would be used again. It's okay for paving in your garden or whatever, but you would not put it on a roof. And yeah, these necessarily, these really haven't got that much of a life left. If you look at most of them, these are the smaller tiles. The smaller tiles fail earlier. The larger tiles from the bottom, I won't lift one up because they're heavy, but they're sort of 30 inches, 36 inches. They're not too bad, and we've got quite a lot of those, but of course as we go up the roof they need to be smaller, and you can't cut them down because they're too thick, so you can't lay the roof with them. If we had a reasonable quality of roof and the right quantity, I'd expect them to last at least 50 years, get another 50 years out of them. But it's great work, because there is always something particular to the locality, particular history or whatever, that pretty much everyone that we have working on these buildings, they're all interested in it. So it's not like work really. When you're doing these sort of projects, you live it and breathe it for the whole period of time you're on the job. So everything is actually really important to you, that you've got it right, that you're proud of it, that you can stand back and think, yeah, because you know it's going to be used. It's a building that's going to be used by a wide range of people. It's not just a home for one family. It's something where 100, 1,000, 10,000 families might well visit it, during your lifetime. So it's very important that it's got right, and you know it's there, and there's a huge feeling of satisfaction.